Again, this is a guy that I don't recognize. I think he was Canadian or French. I think French people have to play on Stars FR now, so I don't think he's French, but for those of you that are interested in country tells. So, second hand, he donks out pot. Definitely could raise here. I usually bump it up to 220 a decent majority of the time. Since it's the very start of the match, I decided just to give one to him. Definitely a 3-bettable hand. I love 3-betting these like Broadway hands. I know some people are like think they play better as flats, but my kind of theory on it is that like people just love calling with like dominated 10x hands, your 10-9s, jack 10s, 10-7 suited, stuff like that. So that's why I like 3-betting them. And then a lot of times when you're dominated, when they have ace king, jacks plus, then they're going to be 4-betting. Now, obviously the problem is the kind of sweet spot for them is, and the anti-sweet spot for us is when they have king jack or king queen, but I'm not that concerned about it. And then ace high flop, I mean, I think it's pretty standard, just a bet. Not a great turn card. I mean, all his floats got there in some degree or another. So decided to check. He bets 300. I mean, with 2 flush draws out there, I think like wouldn't be horrific to call. I think this is probably a check fold though. It's probably best, especially since we don't really know anything about him. Yeah, I don't really like that check call there. So just turns out he had total error. I mean this is an awesome hand in the sense that it gives us a ton of information about like what exactly he's trying to do. You know, if we 3-bet, we're representing this flop amazingly, and then he calls with the intention of taking it away. I mean, props to him for actually betting on the turn though, as opposed to the other guy that we were playing. But I think that's probably just a check fold on the turn. I probably just fold here if I didn't have the ace of spades, but with an over gut shot backdoor spades, I think probably need a check call there. In terms of the merits of check raising, I'm not really sure, but I think with his pot size bet, I'm not sure how many folds we get, and I think I'd have to make it pretty big. So with some showdown value and whatever, I think it's probably best just to call. Now he just randomly bets the river. He can't have a jack. I don't think he's going to bet a 9 like this, so its hand is basically 5x or nothing. So I think in retrospect I prefer a call, and just hope he doesn't have a hand like ace king. He's turning into a bluff. I'm not really sure what I did here. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm in love with that fold. Definitely want to raise here. I'm almost positive I did, just knowing my own game. Backdoor hearts, backdoor straight draws, overcard. You know, we're risking 240 to win 210, so it has to work a little bit more than half the time, probably like 55% or something, and I definitely think it does. And then even if it doesn't, it's subsidized by the fact that we are going to be able to barrel him sometimes and win when we like turn a deuce or a jack or something. And he makes a min re-raise and just give it up, and he shows the bluff, even though he had the best hand. But whatever. I think I played that in a pretty standard fashion. Great board to check back on. I'll just give it up here. I mean, sometimes I'd call here, I guess, but it's like we're not doing great against his flat calling range, or, you know, as Merce would put it, the population tendencies of fish who flat call here, or just even regulars actually too, but it's not like we have any implied odds either if we turn straight. Decided to mix it up and throw a little 3-bet in here with a nice suited Broadway hand. Flop a gut shot. Just bet a standard half pot. I do mix my 3-bet sizes up a little bit on the flop, where some flops I'm going to bet 1/3 pot, sometimes I'm going to bet closer to pot. I don't think this one would have been a bad one just to bet bigger, just to get him to fold like his gut shots and stuff like that, but then decided to shut it down. I mean, if there's one thing you don't want to do against fish, it's like trying to bluff them when they have a 1-card flush draw. So think it's probably best just to get it up there, even though like he showed that he was floating with 7-8 offsuit in that one hand. I still think it's a check fold. So on this board, I think calling has to be best. I mean, we just have the flop so crushed. I mean, the only reason you want to raise here is to try to induce for him to bet 3-bet with like an ace-4 or a pocket sevens or something, but I think we get a lot of money on those anyway in the future, generally, so. And then we have to bet the turn. I wouldn't mind betting a little bit smaller here. I think that was probably a little bit big. Anybody who plays hypers knows that with 20 big blinds, you probably just want to ship this unexploitably, but 30 big blinds, I think that's a little bit ambitious. And now we have nothing, and I don't see a bluff raise being that great, so. There's a lot of things we could do here, you know, just raise, get it in. Kind of my initial instinct is to call and then like ship some turns. I think if you do anything, anything is going to be good here except for folding, really. I mean, he's putting us in a really tough spot here because we only have 800 chips left. I mean, I do think his bet is like relatively polarized here, where I don't think he's betting like the 6 of clubs here or something. So that makes me want to call a little bit more. So I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what to do here. I think calling would be fine. I think folding's fine too. So we're getting owned at the moment, but that's okay. In terms of my defense range, when we're at about 15 BB deep, 14 BB, I still think 7-8 is going to be a defend. I could also ship it too, but with how spazzy this guy is, like he's probably like raise calling like King 5 and stuff. So the wider he's going to be calling our reships, the worse it is going to be shoving these middle connectors. And then when we fought this open-ender, I mean, it's basically just a nut type hand, and I just check raise all in there. Now that we hit the 7, I think it's my instinct is to check here. I mean, there's really not like a ton of horrible river cards. Yeah, I think betting's fine too. I think there's a lot of hands that he could call with, you know, 8x, 4x, ace high, whatever, bottom pair. I think this would be a good spot to check based on his previous actions of just like bluffing in just very bizarre spots. So because of that, I think checking's probably best here. I mean, betting can't be either. I mean, this guy is almost certainly a station too, so. And I think betting smaller like I did is probably best. I see some people bet like 375 here, and I understand like the point of it, and you're like polarizing your range, and people are like, you know, more likely to call the bigger you bet because they're like, well, he either has it or he doesn't. But I think against more recreational players, just betting more medium size here and getting to make sure they don't fold their 2 pairs or like his 10-9 or whatever. But I definitely think I should have checked that river. I think that was a little bit of a mistake by me. And let me just have some folding for a minute. Definitely tightening my range at 21 BB. This guy hasn't 3-bet a ton, which is usually going to be like the main function of your min raise frequency. But at the same time, with him not folding a lot and him not folding pre or post that much, I think 9 deuce is not going to be a profitable play there. I think we could do some different things here. I think check raising to like 350 to induce, or just check calling are fine. Little suspicious on his part here. It's obviously extremely possible that he would have checked a hand like a queen 10 on the turn, but just kind of what I was hinting at before, when people bet big like this, it is an extremely polarized range where he either has the nuts here, which there's basically like only a couple combinations of those. Queen 10, pocket jacks, maybe a top set, but I just don't see that with a flush draw coming in the turn and like a 3-card straightish draw. So I guess we also have to throw like 2 pairs in there, but he seems like the kind of guy that's like betting most of his pairs in the turn. So unless it's like a jack 5 or something like that, or maybe a jack 8, I guess, I'm not exactly convinced. So you know, obviously it's always close when you're only getting 2 to 1 here. But based on how this guy's been playing, I just think like we kind of have to make these type of calls once in a while. So I decided, excuse me, to start limping with some more trashy suited hands, 20 big blinds deep. That doesn't stop him from shipping though, and I'm definitely going to exploit that by limping stronger hands, 20 BB deep, and also just calling him lighter when I min-raise. My min-raise calling range definitely going to loosen up. So this is a tricky spot here. I mean, he has 21 big blinds, and looking at my chart, we'll pull up ICMizer here. Let me pause for a second. So we're back. So if I pull an ICMizer here, I'm just basically looking for the break-even point, and I just treated his re-raise as an all-in there. You know, I'm not sure what range to put this guy on. I think it'd probably be between something like 25-ish%, just based on how he's been playing. You know, obviously there's just a lot of guesstimation when you're in these type of spots, and the break-even has to be 30, and that's, you know, we're making 12 chips on that call. So I think this is probably going to be a fold here. You know, it might have turned into a call in my head just based on like how weird the guy's been playing. I think something else to consider too, though, is when he makes this bet, like it's usually going to be a stronger hand too. I mean, I think if he had like pocket 2s or something, or like 6-7 suited, I don't think he would make this. I think he would just ship it. So I think that's a little bit of a mistake on my part.